Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder, and I've got an extra special treat joining me in the Hit Lab today. Folks, fun little secret, the Hit Lab, or the Hitstreak, has never had two redheads in one episode, and it's happening right now. You're about to see it if you're watching with us, but needless to say, it's going to be a fiery episode to say the least, right? So folks, buckle up and strap in like you're going to be here for a minute as I introduce this young lady over here because she's done a whole lot, right? So check it out. She is a world-renowned Pilates coach. She's a fellow podcaster. She's the founder of OnlinePilatesClasses.com. She's been featured in Vogue, Sports Illustrated, LA Magazine, Bustle, Authority, Yahoo, BBC, Fox, and CBS. That's right, folks. Help me welcome the amazing Lesley Logan. How are we doing, girl?
Hi, Nick. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be here. We have cold plunge. We have cryo. We did a B12 shot. We are ready for this interview.
First hit of the day, and that's what I'm talking about right there, right?
Yeah, I got to get out on the beginning, you know.
Well, like seriously, congratulations on all your success so far. I just kind of got to get into it just a little bit, like right out of the gates, because we got so much to talk about today and all the new things that you guys have going on. But like, how does a Pilates coach travel the world, do what you've done, launch a top-rated podcast, get featured in all the press that you've been featured in? I mean, seriously, there's got to be a gazillion quote-unquote Pilates coaches out there, right? So how did you go next level?
Thank you for asking a question I think many people have wondered, but no one has ever asked. It's like, how do you travel the world teaching Pilates? And the reality is I had the opportunity to become a Pilates instructor at a unique time. It was around in 2008. It was because someone suggested I should be it. And to be honest, when someone said, you should be a Pilates instructor, I kind of laughed a little bit at them. I was like, really? Like, I could do this? And you should also know that before this teacher said this to me, 2 years prior, when I went to my first Pilates class, I was like, no way is this going to be a great workout. I really just needed a friend. I even made fun of it on the way in. I'm like, this is going to be a bunch of baloney. This isn't going to give me any benefits, but I wanted to hang out with her and I wanted a friend in my life. And so what happened is I fell in love with it. I felt parts of my body I'd never felt before. So when this teacher suggested that, it was kind of an interesting idea. And so I became a Pilates instructor. I got so busy teaching Pilates that I had to quit my quote unquote real job. And this was in 2008 when everyone was canceling cable, canceling their water deliveries. And I was building my Pilates business up and really doing something very different in my industry and where I lived. What happened is I met my now husband, but at the time we were just dating, he was trying to figure out what Pilates was and he couldn't figure it out. There's like no articles. There was like nothing. He's like, you should be on YouTube. And I'm not the first Pilates instructor to be on YouTube.
He was right though.
Yeah, he was so right. He was amazing. And I resisted a lot, but you guys, what we resist is there to assist. And so I finally did it. I got on YouTube and people weren't mean to me. So that was my biggest fear. But I was the only person I wasn't teaching classes. I was teaching just the exercises and really breaking things down. What happened is people in the UK and people in Australia and all over the world were finally able to access information and education. And so I was having studios literally fly me all over the world to teach them Pilates. And that's because in the Pilates world, there's a very unique few people who actually are still alive who study with Joseph Pilates. I am not one of them, but my teacher was. And so I had the opportunity to study with someone who studied with Joseph Pilates, and he teaches teachers how to teach just like Joseph Pilates. And so the way I teach is the way that Joseph Pilates intended his work to be done, which is on your own, autonomously, so you can actually use this method wherever you are. And so because of that uniqueness and because I was one of the few people putting things out there, I got noticed and known. And so up until 2020, I was traveling 8 to 10 countries a year, 150,000 miles, teaching teachers and clients how to do Pilates. And that's kind of how it goes.
So I want to use, we've been knocking out movie references since you got here. And I'm going to throw out another one right now just for fun, because I want to, to all our listeners right now, that to properly get them to understand the value of all the things you got coming on for the rest of the year, I want to do a little bit of myth busting when it comes to Pilates, right? Yes. Right out of the gates. Yes. But so I want to make sure that everybody is not just listening to us today, but they're hearing us, right? So there was a movie called White Men Can't Jump in the 90s.
Yes.
And they were talking about Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, and Woody Harrelson was saying, like, you don't you listen to Jimmy, but you don't hear Jimmy. Like basically, like just because it's going in your ears, don't mean you're getting it.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that we give everybody the opportunity. And I may butcher in that movie quote. Maybe it's always the opposite. I think is it listening but you don't hear it, or is it you hear it but you don't listen? I don't know.
I think you could argue both, and I would say yes.
They get the point.
Yes.
is the thing, and that's it. So we're gonna bust some. We're gonna basically some most common FAQs questions, most common misconceptions about it. Really, just I want to blow the lid off the industry a little bit, or at least what the average person feels, and lead that right into why they need to be joining you on everything else you got going on.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So first of all, I mean, at the time you're listening to this, a couple months ago, SNL did the first sketch on like Pilates, which means you made it, right? If SNL is actually going to do a sketch on a topic, it means it's hitting the average person. The problem is while every teacher was laughing and thinking it was amazing, I was a little horrified because they're calling it "Welcome to Girl Horror," and it's like that's not what Pilates is. The equipment actually wasn't even Pilates equipment, and Pilates shouldn't be confusing. It should actually be it's functional movement. Every single exercise that Pilates has you do, that Joseph Pilates created for us to do, is a full body exercise. So let's talk about what Pilates is. The myth is Pilates is your ab workout. Pilates is your core workout. If you have a Peloton membership, like here's your core day and it's Pilates exercises. Pilates is not an ab workout. Pilates is a full body workout. Every single exercise is designed to strengthen your body from your center, which is not just your abs, it's the muscles around your stomach, around your back, around your hips and your shoulders. There's a reason why professional athletes have been doing Pilates for years.
I did.
Yeah, they are now more publicly talking about it, but for years they were doing it privately. Why? It actually is a great way to prevent injury. And that's because if all you do is lift weights, you are actually just tightening muscles. Or maybe don't lift weights, maybe just sit and do nothing or just do cardio. The problem with that is you're strengthening some muscles, but a lot of muscles are being underutilized, underused, and that's where injuries happen. And so in a Pilates exercise, you're strengthening your entire body while also actively stretching it, which does actually create flexibility, true flexibility, and it prevents injury. And so a lot of people think it's just a core workout. It's just for women. I don't know how many NFL players and baseball players and NBA players we have to put on a reformer for men to see that Pilates is actually for them. The other myth is that you have to go to a studio and you need equipment and it's expensive. Yes, private training can be expensive, but private training in anything.
I did mine off of a DVD in my living room back in the day.
Was it with Mari Windsor?
It was. I had that one, and there was another lady that was fantastic, and it was Pilates for everybody, I think. I absolutely love it. She wore a purple jumpsuit. I'll never forget it because like my friends made fun of me every time they saw the DVD right next to Old School and The Hangover and Back to the Future, and then that was that one right there.
Yeah, and so it is. The mat work is where I would love everybody to be doing it because it's actually something you can do at home. It doesn't cost a lot of money. You don't need to have fancy equipment. Now, yes, Joseph Pilates created the reformer and the Cadillac and a bunch of other pieces of equipment that we can't all have. And you can even have in your house, or you can go to a studio, but we put obstacles in the way that we may say Pilates is expensive. Private training is expensive in anything. One-on-one life coaching, one-on-one personal training with a trainer, like all that's going to be expensive. Group classes are going to be less expensive, but even still that can be an added expense for a lot of people. It's an obstacle, but you can do Pilates at home. You can do Pilates in a hotel room. And so to me, that's a big myth I like to bust. It's like, it doesn't have to be expensive and it doesn't have to be inaccessible. Yeah. There will always be exercises that are tough for us. And I think where as adults, we have to remember what it's like to be a beginner at something. We have to remember that it's okay for an exercise to be difficult and hard. Or if we don't like an exercise, it often is because we need it. Yeah. And so those are just some myths I love to bust.
I really enjoyed when I was playing professional baseball, range of motion is another word for flexibility, right? Yes. And that was something that was as we were always building strength back then, and we didn't know near about what we know about nutrition today. Yeah. That Pilates were a very important part, especially of my off-season regimen, just because like not only did I need the range of motion, but I needed the stability to hold it there when I went in an uncomfortable place.
Yes, because also some people, all they want to do is stretch, but then you actually have lost stability. And that's another way where injuries can happen. And so I like to say I help people fall better. I was a professional runner, and I actually had very few injuries as a runner, which is unusual. I didn't have any knee issues or hip issues or back issues from half marathons and marathons because of the Pilates work that you do. A lot of it is to create balance where imbalances exist. Right. And it really is just a great tool to use in addition to everything. I think a lot of people think, oh, I have to do only this. And it's not Pilates versus, it's always Pilates and. Whatever you love Pilates can be that secret weapon that you can use towards making what you love better.
I think when I was doing it and it was the most effective for me, the off season training for me was 7 days a week. And I think I was doing Pilates. I was doing heavy strength 4 and Pilates for 3. Kind of doing 2 and 2 with a break with that and so on. So it was it was hard. It was hard, but it was like a different hard.
Yeah.
It wasn't heavy hard. It was just difficult. And it was, but like, again, recovery was so much faster from all the heavy stuff. I mean, it did leaps and bounds for me as an athlete.
This is like blowing my mind, and I'm like falling in love. I thank you so much. This is a dream come true. This is exactly what I would love more athletes to do. And even people who aren't trying to be an athlete, if you're wanting to have longevity in your life, there are scientific studies that say if you cannot stand up and get on the ground and off the ground without using your hands, right? Every single touch point you need, you have to get onto your knees, you have to use a chair. If you have to help yourself up or down off the ground, every touch point takes years off your life. So what they actually did was ask thousands of people to get down on the ground and back up. And they checked how many different touch points do they need. Then 6 years later, they called people, and the ones that had the most touch points were dead. And the reality is that like longevity is not just all the things that we're eating and drinking and the sleep that we're doing, but it is actually having the strength and mobility to get down on the ground and back off the ground in our life. And so I absolutely love all the weight training people are wanting to do. I think, especially for the women listening, you do need to lift heavy weights. We do need to be doing this, but we also have to be making sure that our body can actually squat down on the ground all the way down and get back up again without assistance. That's going to add decades to your life.
I can tell you what Jim's going to be doing after we're done shooting this today. He's going to be finding out.
We're going to test this whole office. We're going to see who can get on the ground and who can get up. That's going to be the next like life insurance policy check mark.
That's right. That's right. Well, just like if you didn't drive it, if a car sat and you never started it, you didn't drive it for a long time, and you fired it up after 2 years and then floored it right out of the gates, it's probably some things are going to fall off, explode, all those things.
Yeah.
And like, that's usually when injury has found me, is when I did a movement that I wasn't prepared for, or I don't do very often.
Yeah.
Like that's usually when the body said, "Uh-oh," and something broke down.
Yes. And I have a lot of clients who I worked with, and they would get really, really busy before a vacation. So they would cancel their sessions because they had to get their work done something on vacation. And then I check in on the vacation. What they do, throw their back out. Because they stopped doing their movement. They're stopped being intentional about their movement. And then they went and picked up suitcases off of a thing that's rolling by. And so they're trying to grab them as quickly as they can. And they twist and they hurt themselves. And we get frustrated. We're like, oh, I did something so stupid. But the reality is like we think that exercise is a luxury or an option, and really intentional movement is part of your daily life. It should be as protected as your sleep, as your time with your children, as the job that you're doing, because it's what allows you to love on your kids, to love on your spouse, to actually show up and have the energy at work that you want to have.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, you got a lot going on, right? Well, first of all, are there any other myths about Pilates that we just want to, we could stay here the whole time if we had to.
I think the most important thing I want people to hear is that you can start at any age. It's not too late.
And it's best to start young though, right? It's like a foundational thing.
Oh my gosh, I used to teach 11-year-olds. So if you can get your kids into a Pilates and doing movement, it's such a great way to change things. But it is also, I've had people start at 90, so like you can start at any age. The important part is to get started, and you don't need a 55-minute class of Pilates. You can actually do 30 minutes. You can do 20 minutes. You can do 5 minutes. And so
20 minutes, if you do it right, is an eternity.
It's an eternity. And I love that you said it's like an interesting kind of hard. The thing about Pilates that I love is that when you first do it, it's going to be really weird movements. And some things will be challenging for a little bit, and some things will be challenging for a lot of it. But then eventually everything becomes more possible and harder because you start incorporating more muscles. So I hope that gets people just excited enough to try it out. And again, you can do it on the equipment, and that's great. But if I can empower everyone, you can also just do it on the mat at the gym as a warm up before you lift weights.
Yeah.
And then for the women listening, like depending on where you are in your hormonal cycle, Pilates is one of the only workouts you can do the entire time. If you're doing CrossFit, HIIT training, there are days in your cycle you should not actually be doing those things. It's actually not great for your cortisol levels. And so the more we can actually work off of what our hormones want, the more we can get more benefits from the workouts that we're doing. It's actually really incredible. The female athletes who are Olympians and professional athletes who are using their hormonal cycle to do their training are having better gains than the men who actually their cycle is the same 24 hours. So they're having better gains because they're actually going off of their hormones. So that would be just me, my thing to like shout out to people. Try to give yourself the benefit of having intentional movement that works with what your body needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to thank all of our loyal fans that spread across all 50 states and 14 different countries. It's absolutely amazing. Folks, help us keep spreading the word, right? Share your favorite episodes with friends and make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the Hitstreak on all digital platforms. Thanks again, and we look forward to more. I remember the first time I tried it, it was like one of those things where, you know, I was uncomfortable in some of the movements, but after it was over, I was kind of like, I mean, I don't really know how much of an impact it made. So if I had made my judgment then, it wouldn't have been very good, because the next day is when I realized all that it did. And the day after that might have been even worse.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's true, especially in the beginning. And here's why. Pilates is a lot of eccentric contraction. So first of all, soreness is not a sign of a good workout or a bad workout, right? It happens, and if you don't have it, it doesn't mean you didn't work hard enough. But yes, the day after, the couple days after, I have definitely feel parts of my body. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I could get sore still. But eccentric contraction is where soreness will happen. Or if you're at the gym and you're lifting weights, you do several sets of reps, and that's going to actually increase some soreness. But eccentric contraction is how Pilates is best used, because we're not ever starting an exercise and resting, especially on the mat. And the way I teach it, each exercise eventually transitions into the next exercise. So there's no break, which is why I love it for endurance athletes or people who are cyclists, runners, they want to run a marathon. Because if you do the mat work correctly, over time as you learn the exercises, one exercise will go into the next, will go into the next. So there's zero break until it's over. And that is exactly what you need for building your endurance up. And that's going to create some soreness, but that doesn't mean it's bad or good.
Absolutely. Again, just when I was in the middle of it, you know, again, I'm in the top 1% of athletes in baseball in the world at this time, right? So I'm in really good shape. And I did that, and after it was over, the first time I was like, I mean, I get it. Honestly, I could breathe better because of the movement. Like, I feel like it just kind of opened everything up.
Yeah.
At 43 today, those first 15 steps, you know, just trying to roll out of bed and get to the restroom, you know, like those sometimes the back of my heels and stuff like that are brutal. You know, at 43, I have advanced arthritis in my back a little bit, right? So I'm always trying to I'm craving movement. I'm always craving movement. And when the body doesn't want to go any further, I'm always trying to find somebody in my house that can move me a little further. You know what I mean? It's amazing what movement does to how you feel, how you perform, your confidence, everything.
I mean, we take it so for granted until we have an injury, right? And then we're like, I'll never let that happen again. I'm going to take care of my body. And then we get busy. But, you know, it's interesting. Joseph Pilates said in one of his books, the body's only as old as a spine is young. So you can be young in numbers, but old because your spine has lost mobility. Our spines do 5 shapes. The tall back, it's your posture, right? Then there's extension, flexion, side bending, and twisting. Twisting is the one we lose first. That's why you'll see people at the grocery store and they like shuffle to turn. Or even today, I'll watch young people, they'll twist their upper body, but their hips will go with them, which means that you're turning. So you have to anchor one part of your body to actually truly twist.
Chubby checkers would be appalled at those people, wouldn't he, in the grocery store?
And the other thing that people don't do well is side bend. They lean. They're making the shape, but there's not muscles around it. We tend to kind of let our bones just kind of hang out. And what I see today, it's kind of my husband, I love him, but he'll see people's posture in the airport. He's like, look at that. I'm like, I have turned my eyes off, sir, because this is not my job and they did not pay me. But the truth is that today, not just young people, but if you look at people of all ages, their heads are so forward of their body, their shoulders are so far forward. Which all of that poor posture, that forward posture, it's causing several things. First of all, obviously, bad posture leads to lower back pain and other issues. It also leads to terrible digestion, pelvic floor issues, that's men and women. So both both parties can actually experience pelvic floor issues. That's going to affect your life. For men, it's going to affect your sleep. For women, it's going to affect a whole host of other things. And it's all because this head gets forward of our body. And what everyone says is pull your shoulders back. Well, that's not pulling your head back. And pulling your shoulders back does not actually mean better posture. You're just pinching your shoulder blades together and increasing activation of your upper traps, which increases neck issues and headaches, right? So you should not have to think about your posture. Your body is actually supposed to do it, just like it breathes. We don't actually think about breathing unless we're being conscious of it. We should not have to think about how we sit. So if you actually train your body holistically, like a Pilates practice will do, your posture just gets better. I had the worst posture growing up. I've been 5'9.5" since the 6th grade. No girl wants to be at 11 years old in the top row with all the boys. She wants to be at the bottom with all the little girls. And I've been this tall since then. And so I had the terrible posture. So when I started doing Pilates, people were noticing, like, you have amazing posture. And I couldn't believe it because my whole life I was trying to figure out like how to get tall, how to have better posture. When you have better posture, you have better digestion. The other thing about the head forward thing that's happening to people, you guys, when your head goes more forward of your body, you start to see people coming at you as an attack. Anything coming towards you. So you're unable to see people around you and receive them as support, as help, as loving, as kindness.
So it literally affects your perspective.
Correct. And so we have angry drivers. We have people who, like, you bump someone on the street and they like lose their mind, right? It's not because they're jerks. It's because their brain is going so much into that lizard-like brain and going back in evolution and going into a fight or flight mode, going into looking for attacks. And so for me, Pilates is a lot of people will think, I'm going to do Pilates for that Pilates body. There's no such thing as a Pilates body. If you have a body, you can do Pilates. You have a Pilates body. The reason to do Pilates is so that you can have the most amazing posture, so you can have the most amazing longevity, and you can do everything else you love better.
Right.
You know? And so for your back, I mean, like 43 is so young to have that kind of issues. I would love to see you do a spine corrector or a small barrel series at your house, because that is going to work the muscles of your back. It's not going to change the arthritis, but we actually can have those muscles pull on those bones and cause some hopefully prevent it from getting worse, but also help the muscles hold your body up. You know, it's what we all need.
Oh yeah. It's, there's a few accidents and some sports injuries that cause those things, but we're always working on the muscles around the structure, the skeletal system, to kind of make sure that it can pull. And because that's the thing, I used to have spasms all the time. We couldn't figure out why. And they're like, it's because that muscle is not doing what it's supposed to. And this one's pulling all the slack. And when it gets tired, it just says, nope. And it knots up and spasms out. Right. Yeah. So the pain was over here, but the problem was over here. And that was the hardest part to understand. It's like my neck stiff. If it wasn't my neck, it was my lower back.
Yes. I mean, and that's like, we can get a whole host of like fascia stuff, but like where pain presents itself is most often not where the injury is. You know, a lot of people with shoulder stuff, they'll complain about the pain in the front of the shoulder, but it's the rotator cuff in the back. And so, and I think that's like, I mean, it's a lesson for life. Oftentimes where the scream or the frustration or the friction is in your life or your business, it's often because of a symptom way over here that you weren't looking at, or we ignored, or
That's right. Well, girl, you got so much. You and your husband are going to be very, very busy bees the rest of the year, right? So let me just shout off a couple things, and you tell me where we want to start, right? So obviously, you have a free program, which is what all of the rock stars do to get people into the funnel, right? So you got a free program. It gets them in, gives them a little taste, and gets them needing. It gets. Everybody likes to just tap their toe in the water. Yeah, you got to tap your toe. You got to make sure. First of all, you have to make sure you like me, right? Because let's just be real. Like, not everyone's going to like me. I'm not a taco. But well, I would challenge that.
But I think like what I love about this series is if you never have to do anything else after it. You can actually repeat it as much as you want. It's called Full Body in 15, and it's a 15-minute Pilates workout, and it's also a series of workshops. So I'm actually going to teach you how to do the exercises on your own, and then there's a 15-minute workout that you can do with it.
Man, it's like, I think it's such a great thing, because when you guys have your clientele, I have the same thing, free offerings all the time to figure out if we're a good fit. It's like a qualifying round, you know, and then if it is, they feel great and confident about moving forward, which means we're going to get the best results, because I'm going to get the most of them when they come in there, right? And I think it's a beautiful thing. And that's, for me, that's how I'm always like, they're almost there. They don't have that free offering first to get them rocking. You got to have that. You see that amongst all the biggest people out there.
Yeah, and like if you're a beginner, that's the best place to start. And if you're not, you'll be humbled, because to me, the best way to see if you're truly an advanced person in Pilates is the beginner work should be really difficult.
That's right. That's right. And folks, we're hanging out with the Lesley Logan. Check her out online at onlinepilatesclasses.com, as well as Instagram at leslie.logan. Folks, it's spelled L-E-S, right?
Yes.
L-E-Y.
Yes.
L-E-S-L-E-Y. I've got two spellings on my sheet over here, Jim. Right, but it's L-E-Y. We got the URL right up for Instagram, which is good. So that's awesome. So, folks, check her out on there, and they can get links to all your stuff from there as well, right? They can find everything, the program we're talking about.
Yeah, so if you can go to, on my Instagram, there's a link for everything that we do over there. You can find that out. And also at onlinepilatesclasses.com, you'll see everything. We have an app that's free to use. You don't have to be a member to watch tutorials, to really understand things, to check us out. We also have on my YouTube channel thousands of videos that can actually help you out. So we have a ton of free content. So if money is an issue, you're not ready to invest in Pilates, you can have all of that access. And we actually just love really going around and meeting people in real life as well. Because I didn't start as an online Pilates instructor. I started as an in-person. And what happened is I was traveling so much, to go back to like, how did that all start? I started traveling so much. My husband was like, your clients aren't actually as happy for you as you are happy for you. So we have to give them something. And that's where the online stuff came from. But for me, community is so key, and being able to teach people in real life is amazing. So when you go to our site, you'll see we have lots of online options, and then we also have ways we can meet in person.
My wife and I are a work duo, and it's I've ran into some great rock star couples that do that, but it don't work for everybody, right?
I'm always impressed when I see another couple who works together, because I'm like, hi, we're unicorns. And then I meet so many people like, I want my husband to work with me. I'm like, you might not.
That's right.
And
my parents did it and it wasn't good.
Right. And it's not for everyone. And also it takes intentionality, I'm sure you and your wife as well, to make sure that the marriage and the work relationship are both healthy. Absolutely. And working and a priority, because you could just always work all the time. And then like, oh, hi, like, is this a roommate that you also pay? Like, it's like, you have to make sure you're intentional. I'm very lucky, when I met my husband, to flirt with me, he built me a website. So we kind of started our relationship kind of working, because he was building me a website, and then he was doing research, and he's like, you should be on YouTube. And so he's been a great consultant. And in 2019, I had a business coach who was working with both of us and had asked Brad what his goals were. And Brad's there, like, I want to travel the world. I want to have freedom of my schedule. I want to do my own thing. And the coach asked me, like, what do you want? And I said, well, I would love for him to work with me, but I don't want to ask him to, because I don't really want to ask my husband to give up his businesses for mine. Mm-hmm. And so this coach was kind enough to sit us down and kind of like negotiate, therapize this conversation to help us navigate. Like,
we did the same. That's right.
Yeah. Like, how do you want this to work? And so in 2019, he worked with his business partners to let go of everything he was doing and come fully on board. And it's been really amazing, because the other way, working with your spouse, I'm sure you and your wife are the same way. You have strengths that only you are so amazing at.
Absolutely.
And she has ones that she thrives. And like, if you can let each other just really work in your zones of excellence, the business grows so fast, and also it's really fun to do together. And he is really great at taking an idea, breaking it down into details. I'm not a detail-oriented person. He breaks it down, and he can make it happen in ways that are bigger than I could have dreamed of. It makes it really fun.
Like, and like, my wife isn't working from here today. She's working from our other spot, and handling some transportation for the kids. And I can tell you, I can't wait to go home. I'm excited to go home, right? So like, I absolutely love it. And we've got lots to catch up on this evening. We got some time blocked out and whatnot, but it's a great thing. It truly is. Like, it's either, I don't know if there's a lot of middle ground. I think it's either really bad, or it's really, really good.
Yeah, I think so, because also, life is really short, and it should be really fun. It should be an exciting. It should be a choice. And what I love about us working together is there's not a lot of certainty in life. And I think it's really interesting how a lot of people, and in this world where people can go, oh, employee is a safe bet. An employee of a job is a safe person to give a mortgage to. But I can guarantee you, my husband and I know we can rely on ourselves, and we would never let something fail. Mm-hmm. And there's something really nice that even when things go crazy in the world, we can sit down and go, okay, how can we best serve our community, and how can we best make this work? How can we take this huge problem we didn't expect to happen, and how can we make it work? And then the two of us can go work on this project, and we're helping work on the same problem together in our own ways. And that actually makes me feel like there's certainty.
That's right. And big shout out to Jessica Papineau. I believe she put us together. Did she not?
Yes, she
a special guest. Yep.
She raved about you. She's like, you've got to go on this pod. And I looked it up. I listened to so many. I was like, this guy's great. I want to do it. So yeah, she's amazing.
That gets a hit right there for old Nick, right? Talking about. The Hit Streak is powered by our partners at HitLab Creative Studios. Whether it's launching your brand new podcast, rebranding your current podcast, or taking advantage of any of their other content packages specifically for your social media needs, the Hit Lab is a one-stop shop for you. Visit hitlabstudio.com for more. Obviously, you've done some stuff with Brand Builders Group. We rave about Brand Builders Group here.
Yeah.
So I have one regret about working with Brand Builders Group.
Tell me.
It's that I didn't start 5 years sooner.
Right.
They've been amazing.
They've been amazing. I started with them in 2020.
I have a call with Jeremy today, as a matter of fact. I love
Jeremy's wonderful. We're going to be with BBG the next couple of days. That's why we're in town. And they really helped me see things in a different way. So I knew a lot from business coaching. I knew a lot about my Pilates industry. I'm actually extremely successful in the industry. And so I can coach a lot of Pilates instructors. Mm-hmm. But what I didn't really understand was how to make who I am help my businesses shine. Mm-hmm. And that's what BBG helped me see so well. And then also, especially when you work for yourself, it can be really insular. And then I work with my husband. So like your world can be small if you let it. And so what's been so amazing about BBG is like getting to meet so many different people. And I'm an ideas machine. So when I see other people with success doing different things, I'm like, oh, I could do that.
That's right.
And for anyone listening, like you got to put yourself in rooms of amazing, amazing people.
Boom.
The reason we go on tour, my husband was a musician when I met him. Well, he's still a musician, but he was in a band when I met him. And I was listening to someone
I can see that.
Yeah, you can see that.
Dude, he looks like a rock star.
It's the jeans, the hair. I know.
He looks like a rock star. Like when I saw him first, I was like, well, that guy's somebody.
Yeah, he is somebody. He's phenomenal. He's amazing. And so we were in an amazing group similar to BBG. This is many, many years ago. And I heard this couple say, we want to go on tour with our book. I was like, how can I go on tour? What can I do? And I told him, I was like, maybe we can go on tour with Pilates. And he's like, oh, I can take us on tour. And because he's a musician, and he was a touring musician, he put me on tour. You guys. And so like, our 5th tour was 20 cities in 28 days. Like I was like in and out, and like just everything is so incredible. So I love how he uses his strengths. But when you put yourself in rooms with amazing people, you can get great ideas that help support your business and take you to the next level.
We say that a lot. Like Brand Builders has been their processes and information and everything is great, but like the community is the value, man. It's such an unbelievable community. So, all right. So you guys have a summer tour that you're going to be doing. We got a retreat happening in Cambodia. Yeah. You've got a new product release coming later this year. Yeah. Where do you want to start?
I know. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think let's talk about the tour in Cambodia first, because that's the one that will probably affect the most people here. So our tours are designed to help bring people and communities together. I love teaching online because it creates the most accessibility for people to be able to do Pilates, and that we have a community online as well. But I love popping into towns and bringing Pilates to you. And so we'll have a summer tour coming up. And this time, our first summer tour was West Coast. This time we're actually going to go through the Midwest up into, forgive me, y'all, I don't really know what you call the Midwest, where it's Minnesota and Milwaukee. I would call that the Midwest, but maybe it's the northern Midwest. We're going to go all through there. We'll come home, and then a few months later, we'll do a winter tour. And that one's going to take us through, we'll come back through Tennessee on that one. We're going to go all the way up to Maine, down to Miami, back to Vegas. So that one will be 24 cities in 34 days.
Wow. That's awesome, man. And I have a question that's not specifically for maybe the folks that are out here. It's like when you're booking those tours, there's a lot.
It's so much work.
Like the one thing you got to do is make sure there's people there.
Yeah. So, and that's that isn't even the hardest part of the thing, but it's true. So this will be our 6th and 7th tour. And so I like to share that with people, because if you are listening, you're like, oh, I want to do that. You need to know that our first 3 tours we did ourselves. Our 4th tour, we were able to engage with a headlining sponsor. And we do have a van so that we can live in and travel in. So that actually makes it really easy for us to get places. But
Cool.
It's so cool. There are so many little things you have to think about. Where are you getting gas? Where can you park the car overnight? Can you park the car at the place that you're going to have the event? And then yes, you have to get the people there. And there's never a perfect day for everybody. So even if you think, oh my gosh, we have 50 members in this area, you still have to try to reach 300 people. You know, like it's going to be, it's a lot of work. So that is where it's collaboration. You have to lean on people. And so yes, we have a headlining sponsor, but we pick host studios or host event spaces. I just did an event with Jessica Papanow where we actually, okay, this is what your job is in marketing. Here's what we're going to do in the marketing. Here's how it's going to benefit you. Here's what and we also split the income with the host so that it's actually beneficial for them as well as for us. And I think
so you partner with them.
We do. We partner with, I think that's actually really important. I mean, people,
no doubt,
you know, it's not always about money, but you know, people, that's what you got to pay bills. So everything has to make sure it's accessible for the person coming, but also has to be a win for the person hosting. And so, yeah, we got the people there. So that is a lot of effort between warming people up, wait lists, collaborative partners, lots of social media, lots and lots of emails. And now that it's our 6th and 7th tour, people get really excited and they actually ask us to come. So that makes it a lot easier to plan the spots.
That's right.
But yeah, we bring the dogs. So it's 3 dogs, you know, 2 humans and a van.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
That's exactly correct.
I love it. So, so we talked about the Cambodia retreat. You're talking about the summer and the winter tour, right? You got a new product release happening.
Yeah. So just real quick on that retreat. The retreat is people think Cambodia. That's so weird. Why would you go there? It's a really beautiful place, and it's really important to me to allow and invite people to a place that they might think is a little out of this world, hard to get to, maybe not safe to go to a third world country. The humans there are incredible. And it's important to me for people to travel outside of what their culture is, or like even similar cultures, and really immerse yourself in a different place, because you really truly understand what's really important in your life. And you also get to really understand different types of people and different types of living. And it makes us a more empathetic culture, I think. So that's what I love to do. Cambodia, and we do it. We have a house there, so when you come, you stay at our house. We do Pilates, we do some breath work, some life coaching stuff that really helps you understand, like when you're retreating, like why are you retreating, how are you going to go back to your life and take something with you. So that's a Cambodia retreat, and we've been doing this since 2017, and it's incredible and it's amazing. And our October retreat sold out, but we're actually able to let people come sign up for the February retreat now.
There you go. That's fantastic.
So the product, okay, so this is, people are going to listen, you're like, you're doing so much. You have to know, I've been teaching Pilates 15 years. I work with my husband. We do not do things alone. There are 25 people on our team that help us make things happen. So always listen to people who ask you questions, because the questions people ask you are the things that they think you're an expert in, and they want more of from you.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of people asking me for a training manual because of how lucky I was to train with someone who trained with Joseph Pilates, and the teachers I've had, people like, you should have a training manual. I don't think you actually learn from a book. I think you can learn from books, but I actually don't think that, like, especially when it comes to movement, it's important to learn from your own body doing the movement. And that's one thing I want to empower non-teachers and teachers to do. It's like, get Pilates in your body. So I actually created flashcards. I know the first one was a mat deck. So think tarot deck, right? Like with Pilates exercises on the cards. And I created them in 2020, and it took us a while to get the first deck printed. It was the biggest deal I ever did in my life, was like getting into products, because everything I had done was either in person or online. So I got into physical products, and again, because my husband is amazing and he thinks differently than me, he's able to take my idea and make it a physical product. So we made flashcards, and we've now sold thousands of these decks around the world. I know. I really love it. It's really something I'm excited about. And it allows people to, again, take Pilates with them, and they don't have to commit to an online membership. They can actually just use this deck of cards, just like you use a DVD, but you can create your own workout with it as well. And so after the mat deck, we actually did a reformer flashcard deck. We did a Cadillac flashcard deck. We've done a chairs deck. And now what we're releasing is the barrels deck. And the barrels deck is going to seem a little weird. If you've never heard of Pilates, you have no idea what I'm talking about, and that's okay. But the spine corrector is one of the most amazing equipment pieces that anyone can have in their home. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It can fit behind a chair in your living room. And it actually really does help you work your entire spine into a healthy, supportive place of extension. There's a leg series on there. There's an ab series on there. So you can do a full body workout on this deck, on that piece of equipment. It's about $700, which is a lot of money, but not really. If you look at people buying compression boots and PIMF mats and, sauna blankets, those are all about $1,000, right? So this is relatively a little bit less, and you can actually do a 15 to 20 minute workout on this easily while you're watching TV, while you're with your family in the living room. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So this barrels deck I'm really excited about because it's going to have all the Pilates barrels that are out there. More than half of the exercises are for the one spine corrector, and that will release hopefully August, September. It's about 400 hours every time I make a deck. So Brad always laughs. He's like, this is the most expensive offhand comment you've ever said.
I love it. That you really nailed something with when you're talking about You can learn information out of a book. So I was literally talking to my son in the Jeep riding. I think I was taking him to baseball the other day, and I was like, we were talking about him knowing certain things, but making teenage decisions, right? So it was like, hey man, dude, you're a smart guy, okay? You're an intelligent guy. God blessed you with some brains, you're an intelligent kid. I was like, but you have to, the knowledge is nothing if you don't know how to apply it, right?
Yes.
So you can go to church, you can get saved, you can get all that stuff, but if you don't know how to apply the word into your life, it's still empty. Yeah. So I was telling him, I was like, you're an intelligent guy, but when you learn how to apply your intelligence, that's when you're smart. Yeah. And he was like, oh, okay, I get it. And we, and I was telling him the same thing when we're working out. We, as a baseball player, when you're hurt, you play. When you're injured, you don't. Right? Just because something hurts, that might be a good thing, So I'm always telling him sore and stiff are two different things, right? And they require two different types of movement or two different regimens to come from that. So it's just really important to understand, when somebody else is injured, well, I might only be hurt with the same thing. It's again, your teammates are counting on you. There's a lot of things going on, especially in the world of sports. So you're never going to be 100% days are rare. Yeah. And it's the best pitchers in the world of baseball are the ones that can get it done when they don't have their best stuff. Everybody's going to have their best stuff sometimes. Yeah. And everybody can be great those days. It's when they don't have those. And what I found, the more that you can move and the more that your spine can move, the more times you have your best stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I hope everyone listening just hears the movement is so important. You can have the best diet in the world and your body can crumble on you. You can have the best coaches, life coaches, money coaches, business coaches, sports coaches, and you can end up poor.
Yeah.
Because right. your body is the only thing we can take with us, and it has to be able to do things, and also need to do things when we don't have to think about it. Yeah. And so the more we can move our bodies is so important. And I think we think, oh, I'm gonna work it on this day, or I'm gonna do leg day. We make it so difficult. We make obstacles for ourselves. Yes, I want you to go to the gym and I want you to have those routines, but also I want you to have something you can take with you when you're on the road, when your day is getting crammed and you only have 15 minutes. Don't take those 15 minutes for granted. You can do some movement that's going to make your spine really healthy. It's also going to move the blood flow in your body, and you will be a better parent, better partner, better business leader,
more patient, everything.
Oh my gosh. I can tell when I haven't had my movement practice in because the travel schedule got a little crazy. And when we're on tour, it's on the tour schedule is literally, we're going to get to that studio earlier so Lesley can do her workout, because I can't give to the people who are coming the best version of me if I just drive on in and just treat my body like it doesn't need Pilates for the whole tour. That doesn't work.
No doubt. No doubt.
The Hitstreak is powered by Team Hyder. Team Hyder has been serving you for 11 years and has racked up over 20 national and local awards for excellence in all areas. When it comes to finding the right health plan, we need to consider your family's needs and your family's budget. That's what we do to serve you. To look further and to book an appointment, visit teamhyder.com.
So I want to get a little bit of, I want to give the folks a little bit about some mindset education here, right? So I want to talk about habits with you, okay? Yeah. So first, there's 3 basic questions in regards to habits here that we've got for you. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about how to create habits easily. I want to talk about how to create a bad habit, and I want to talk about how habits help you set your goals. Right?
Yeah, I want to break a bad habit. Is that what we want to do? I want to create one.
Well, I'm all about consistency. For me, is everything. Consistency and discipline are 2 things that just have to be.
Every goal you want in your life is just a series of habits that help you get there. And too often we're waiting for motivation to help us with things. So motivation, I think, is really important to understand. Motivation helps you do something that's difficult, but motivation is a very fickle friend. So BJ Fogg is who I got to study with, and you could all read the book Tiny Habits. You don't have to become a certified teacher. You don't have to pay me for this. You can actually just read his book. He's amazing. He was one of the founders of the behavior science program at Stanford. And also, by the way, all of your top habit books, James Clear, all those people, they all have studied off of his work and off of his scientific work. So here's the deal. There are no bad habits. Every single thing we do in our life is a series of habits that give us pleasure. Your brain is conditioned to want dopamine. So the founders of Instagram, study with BJ Fogg, used to be 3 clicks to get your picture out there and get likes. Likes are going to be for the dopamine. So what you have to think about is like everything I want to be a habit in my life, I have to figure out a way to make myself happy doing it. And it has to be easy to do, because if you need motivation to do it, remember, motivation's a fickle friend. Great for taking to an awesome party, terrible for picking up at the airport on time. So if we can say, I want to get up in the morning earlier and have time to meditate. Great. That's a great goal. So we have to actually figure out how we can't go, I'm going to meditate for an hour. If you've never meditated, you can't, 5 minutes is going to be a long time. But the problem is most people are overachievers and perfectionists. And so if they can't do it for an hour, they're not going to do it. But if you can actually give yourself permission to make it as small as possible so you can actually achieve it and do it. And then this is the important part. You have to celebrate. You have to create a way to make your body and your brain feel that dopamine hit around it. If you've got kids, it's easier because you can high five them, right? I was at my friend's house this weekend and their 2-year-old daughter was like walking down the stairs, and she got into this position this week where she just decided that she couldn't do it, and she's been able to do it. And so I just cheered her on. Why? The dopamine got in her brain. She got really excited. She went up the stairs and down the stairs because we got really excited. So it's really fun. You celebrate. Think about when you, especially for the parents, when you have a kid who walks the first step, you don't go, ugh, that first step. Yeah. You just did one, right? Your foot was turned in. You were holding, we don't criticize them. We actually cheer on what they do. Why? Because we want them to do it again. We want them to practice it. It's the same way for us as adults. We have to cheer ourselves on. We have to figure out a way that makes it work. So 1, it has to be tiny. 2, you have to cheer it on. 3, this is most important. Prompts from a bell or a ding or a schedule in your phone only work if you're at a place where you can do it. It doesn't work if you aren't at a place you can do it. And once you start ignoring it, it's the moment that it doesn't become a thing. And so you don't need 21 days to do a habit. What you need is to have a prompt that you're already doing. So in the morning, at lunchtime, and at dinner, you have things that you just do automatically. You get up out of bed. BJ Fogg would say he puts his feet on the floor and he'll go, today's gonna be an amazing day. Because you always put your feet on the floor, right? So it's a great place to put in a habit. You always brush your teeth in the morning. You always make coffee. You always grab a briefcase, or there's things we do. And if you can actually take a moment to log in everything you already do automatically in your morning, lunchtime, and dinner, you can look at those things and see, where do I want to put that 5-minute meditation? Where do I want to put that 7-minute workout? And then you can put it after something that is specific that you always already do. And here's the other thing. If you forget to do it, if you shame, judge, get mad at yourself, you've just told your brain that thing I want to do actually brings me stress. Your brain is going to do everything it can to keep you from feeling pain and stress and anger and disappointment. So it's not even going to look for other opportunities for that thing to happen, because it's like, I don't ever want that to happen ever in my life. And so I think if we can get kinder to ourselves, we can actually make more habits successful that we actually want to make happen. And if you have a habit you don't want anymore, here's the deal. It's you can't break it. In air quotes, bad habits are habits we don't like about ourselves, but they serve a purpose. They do something for us.
Sure.
And so we have to unravel them, because there is a prompt that's happening that you're not even aware of that is actually causing you to do the thing. So maybe every time you get off a phone with a parent and it drives you crazy, you binge out on some ice cream, or you go sit and watch Netflix till 3 a.m. or something like that. That prompt, we have to figure what the prompt is that's causing you to do the thing you don't want to do. And if we can't remove the prompt, then we actually have to look at the thing you don't want to do and go, what can we replace it with? Because we can't just take it away. It's so simple. People are like, well, don't buy the candy for your desk if you don't want to eat candy at your desk. It's not, your brain is like, I'm used to munching here, so I have to munch here. I had a roommate when I moved to LA and she wanted to quit smoking. Well, traffic in LA is terrible. It's about 45 minutes to an hour to go a few miles. And she used to always smoke in the morning on her way to work. And so the first day trying to quit was the hardest thing she ever went through. She actually chewed all of her nails off because she needed something to do. And so we came with a series of, right. She came with a series of things like, what can she do with her hands in that car? So the next day we had her loaded up with any kind of thing she could drink, suck on, chew on, until she could find the thing that like made sense and made traffic easier for her to do to replace that habit.
Yeah.
And so be kind to yourself. Make the habit as small as possible and celebrate it. You can make a habit in 3 days. You can make a habit in 1 day.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I want to dive into that just a little bit. All right. And I'm going to let's use whiskey as the reference. All right. Because I would say, and I'm sure there's always the exception to the rule, but very few people try whiskey for the first time and be like, damn it, that's the best thing I've ever had. Everybody says, God, that's awful. Yet there's guys or there's people that get addicted to it. It becomes a habit that they can't live without. Mm-hmm. How can something go from that's the worst tasting thing I've ever tasted to I can't drink it and it's literally I can't not drink it and it's ruining my life, right?
So I think the same thing goes with beer. I mean, I don't know a single person who's like, yeah, I love the taste of beer the first time.
That's right. Pretty much any alcohol. How many people inhaled a cigarette and was like, I feel complete. Everybody coughed. They probably gagged. They probably think that tastes terrible. It tastes like an ashtray. Yet there's people that are addicted to this stuff. And it just goes kind of along with what you're talking about. It's like habits are of the mind, right? Not the body. Habits, they live and die in the brain.
Yeah. So I'll say like a caveat. Some people are genetically going to be addicted to things. Mm-hmm. So let's take them out of it because that.
But they still probably didn't like it.
Probably still didn't like it. So and I would say most people don't try whiskey alone for the first time.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
What does community give us? Dopamine gives us excitement. I'm an introvert and I still want to be around people, And so I think like we all want to belong.
Even the Navy assigns a swim buddy when they're going through their training and stuff. Hardly anybody does this alone.
Yeah. And so I think
that's why they need to call you.
Yeah, they do. The Navy should call me. Also, we are working on that. We are a WOSB. My husband's going to laugh at me for saying that, but like now I can get government contracts. I just got to figure out how to apply for them, but now I can't. So
that's awesome.
I know it's really cool because the military needs Pilates. But the thing is that I bet the people you were around are why the habit was created.
I agree with that.
I think the dopamine we got from that environment is why it happened. And I also...
Nobody tries a beer or whiskey or probably even a cigarette for the first time. Nobody sneaks their cigarettes to the room from their parents and be like, I'm going to try this thing alone and nobody's going to know.
And also, even if they did it to tell their friends they did it and their friends going, oh my God, created the dopamine, right?
That's
so
right.
Let's also talk about the difference between the dopamine instantly and a reward because there's a difference between a celebration and a reward. A lot of people are like, oh, if I don't drink every day this week, then I'll buy myself this thing at the end of the week. That is too far away. Mm-hmm. It has to be instant. It has to be right afterwards. So yes, you can go buy yourself the jeans or whatever you want for the fun of it, but whatever you want, the celebration has to be at that moment. Mm-hmm. And so what is happening in those moments is people are either telling a friend they did it or they're with their friends when they do it. And it's the excitement of the people going, oh my God, we're doing this. Oh my God, we're doing something we're not supposed to do. That's creating those habits that we don't like. And then I mean, the reality is there's addictive products in those particular things, but also even sugar is an addictive product. Fast food puts it like this weird spray on the fry, so you want more of them. There's all these things that are put in there that are not helping us not have the habit. But again, there's a joy, and you also have to remember that the dopamine doesn't have to be from joy and excitement. It can also be from calming, relief, anything that like. This could be soothing, anything that's not a negative feeling is a joyful feeling for us.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And like motivation for me is what gets you started, but commitment, consistency, what keeps you going. And so I even learned for me, I will miss way less workout commitments to myself as long as like some days life happens, you get sick, like things happen.
Yeah.
So, or, injuries happen. So like, even when, let's say I'm down and I'm like, I can't do what I normally do for a week or two. Well, I'll go out and do a version of it.
Yes.
So I can still check it off that I did it. Because for me, like, there's this not subconscious thing happening in my mind where, like, before I leave the house every day, I've got a certain amount of victories.
Yeah.
I've got a certain amount of wins. So I leave out with momentum,
Yes.
and like, when you don't do something that you normally do, it's like, even if it was for a positive reason, your brain doesn't always associate it that way, right? And it's the same reason that, like, when somebody does 300 days in a row without drinking and they fall off one time, well, that's the next days they're probably going to do it again, because it's like, well, I did it yesterday, I'll start over again the next day, and so all of a sudden, procrastination sets in.
Yeah. And I mean, like, procrastination's an interesting one. I did a lot of research on it, and a lot of us procrastinate because that actually does bring us joy. It brings us a level of uncertainty, rebellion. We there's just or we think we need to live off the edge to like we need the timer of a deadline to like get us going. We need that stress. That's an addiction in itself of like, this is how I get things done. The thing that I want to highlight, you said, is that you do a version of what you can do. And y'all, that is exactly how you can maintain some of the habits that you want to have.
That's right.
Even when I travel a ton, I can't do the exact same morning routine on the road that I do at home, but I can do a version of it.
That's right.
And it might not be the 3-mile walk I do with my dog. It might be a 3-block walk or a 3-minute walk. You give yourself that. And then you also you have got to be kind to yourself. I think so many people, if we actually took a look at the things they said in their head all day, they would be horrified.
Oh, absolutely.
And they would never want anyone to know these things. Those things you're saying are actually keeping you from having the life you want to have. Mm-hmm. And you talked about that momentum that like gets your day going. So here's the best thing you can do for anything you want to have, for any feeling you want to have, for any lifestyle change you want to have. What you want to do is just like write it down on a piece of paper in the center, and then around it, write down anything you think could help you do it. So let's say you want to go to bed earlier.
I like that.
Right. Okay, I want to go to bed earlier. What are all the different ways I can go to bed earlier? I could turn off the TV earlier. I could turn off my phone earlier. I could make dinner earlier. I could read. I could go. There's a lot of different things you could do, right? Then you take another piece of paper and you draw a quadrant, so a cross, right? A vertical line, a horizontal line. So you take that vertical line and you're going to put at the bottom hard to do, and you're going to put easy to do at the top. And then you're going to take the horizontal line, and on the left side it's going to be don't want to do, and the right side's going to be want to do. And there's a quadrant where it's easy and want. And you take every single thing you wrote on that first piece of paper and you put it somewhere on the graph. Put it somewhere along the vertical line of easy and hard, and somewhere on want and don't want. Whatever happens in that quadrant of easy and want, so you're going to start with. Mm-hmm. Because you need as little motivation as possible to do those things. And you can actually tweak and play with how easy can I make these to do for me.
Right.
And so maybe you start with, maybe like you'd think, if I eat dinner earlier, I can go to bed earlier. But how many of us can get home from work earlier? If you have got kids, there's all these things going on. They've got practice sometimes at like crazy hours. So that might not be an option. But maybe the option is like you don't turn on the TV at night.
Yeah.
And so, but what are we going to do instead? How are we going to create that? And so you'll have to really investigate what it is. But if you start with easy and want, you're more likely to do it. And it doesn't have to be for 2 hours. Maybe it's like maybe turn off the TV 15 minutes earlier, right? Just different things.
The Hit Streak is powered by Rack Financial. When it comes to your credit card merchant processing, Rack Financial is efficient, reliable, and trusted. At the end of the day, when it comes to processing your credit card payments, they make it simple, the way it's supposed to be. Check out Rack Financial.
Folks, we're hanging out with Lesley Logan. Check her out online at onlinepilatesclasses.com and on Instagram at leslie.logan. Lesley, as we bring this sucker to a close, is there any final thoughts or any final things that you want to invite people to?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for having me and everyone for listening. And I think if I can invite you to do nothing else but this, then may it just be that you be really kind to yourself and ditch some perfection that's not helping any of us and it's not helping you. And then if I can invite you to more things, it would just be to come play and do some Pilates with me, however you like to do it. If you want to do it with the cards, you want to do it online, you want to do it for free, you want to do it with the paid community, or you want to do it in person, like I would love to help you move, because I do know that Pilates helps you do whatever you love better.
Well, thanks so much for the hang. This was exhilarating and amazing. And all of the adjectives or whatever the words I'm using, what are those? What is exhilarating, amazing? Are those adjectives?
Thank you so much for asking that question. I never know what they are.
Jim, you got your phone? We're going to find this out for the audience now.
I'm for sure can promise you I copy people's things in English class because I really was like, what are these commas? What are these, an adverb and a verb?
That's right. Well, like, I don't know what that is. It's an adjective. All right. We have been confirmed. So all of the amazing adjectives that I'm feeling for having you in the studio today. Seriously, it's great meeting you and your husband. Again, I knew he was somebody when I walked out there the first time. I was like, that's somebody right there.
He's incredible. And what's so funny is like, he's the rock star in our relationship and I'm the one who's on stage all the time. And he knows so much about, like, he's just the best at what he does. And I'm so grateful that he's on my team because I could not do this without him. I mean, like, I'm just going to do this thing. We're at Soho House last night doing a talk and he's so good at making sure that everything is set up so that the work we do shines, that the Soho House had set up these TV screens and they were blocking the stage. I couldn't really tell that from where I was. And he got up and he moved the TVs so that they didn't block the stage. And like, he's just so thoughtful about making sure things shine. So I'm just grateful for him. But yeah, he's somebody.
It's a great teammate right there. Well, Lesley, thanks so much for the hang. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished so far. It's going to be fun watching all of the future stuff that you guys are getting into. Specifically just the rest of 2024. Holy cow.
Holy cow. Here we go.
That's right.
Thank you so much for having me, Nick. This is amazing.
Well, it was my great pleasure, right? My great pleasure. Well, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of The Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.